good, guys? You're watching Everyday Struggle here on Complex. I am Nadeska here with Akademiks and Wayno, and our special guest today is Reason. He just dropped his new project, New Beginnings. Welcome to the show, and thank you for not even waking up early, but staying up so late, I guess, since you never went to bed last night. How you feeling?
I'm hanging in there. I'm figuring it out.
No, I was just gonna say, like, how's everything been this year for you?
It's been a weird year, but ended on a good note. Just a weird year as far as like COVID and you know what I mean, everything going on and stuff like that. As I feel like everybody could say.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot about how, the pandemic has been affecting rappers. You know, we were talking yesterday about Blueface saying he spends $50,000 a week usually. So now he's had to scale back. Have you actually had to make any big lifestyle changes, or are you pretty responsible, generally speaking?
I was responsible beforehand, thankfully. I kind of stacked up before COVID, not even knowing that it was gonna hit. But it's still definitely like there was goals that I had this year that I kind of had to push back. Just as far as financially, because I had like tours set up, festivals, different things like that. So I already had things that I was planning on doing. So I think that I've had to make the same adjustment everybody kind of has.
Hey, I mean, I'm a notorious pocket watch. I got to keep it true. So I've seen, especially with Blueface saying that, I called even a little bit of cap because he said he was pretty much, I don't know if he said he was just doing all that great off just Tatiana, which obviously is a big song. But really, have you paid more attention to like money that comes in from streaming and other stuff, like since you don't have shows at the moment? Because I think sometimes artists just look at that as like an afterthought. You know what I mean? They spend the advance, they get the show money, but they don't really look at those royalty checks that come in, frequently from, whatever label you're on.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm not, completely aware of Blueface's situation, but for me, it's definitely been a learning experience. Just as far as like as an artist, you for sure don't pay as much close attention to, the streaming money and also what you're making in other avenues. You know what I mean? Show money is so quick, so when you take that away, it's not like you're trying to pay attention to it. You just notice it because it's like now this is like basically what's coming in. You know what I mean? So it's more about just noticing it other than like actually taking a deep look at it, if that makes sense.
Hey, I also wanted to ask too, because yesterday I'm having this conversation with someone who's a part of setting up a concert where I guess Lil Durk is going to be performing. People are going to be in their cars. Also, I saw Obama gave a speech and everybody's in their cars and whatever. Yeah. How do you think about like maybe a new concert experience where like people are and maybe enjoying you on stage, but like they're not there all close to each other, but they're kind of still experiencing it live? Like, how do you feel about that?
Man, I'm not gonna lie. For me, like if the fans love it, cool. But for me, like that's just kind of trash. Like I don't feel the energy. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Like so, if they like it, then that's cool. You know what I mean? I'm with it. I'm always for what the fans want to do. But at the same time, if it's my choice, me and Top was just even talking about this. Kind of leaning away from even a Zoom concert because it just don't feel the same. You know what I mean? Like so, we trying to figure out some way to get creative and do something else.
Yeah, I've only watched like one Zoom concert, and like honestly, it was cool like the first week when we got into all this, but that's
a fact. Like, that's what I'm saying, bro. Like, yeah, even Verzuz, like if Verzuz didn't go to the actual Verzuz thing where they in the same room, like I probably would have stopped watching that if I'm gonna keep it a G.
Well, most of that was just bad internet. You know what I mean? Like again, if a nigga's buffering, you can't really work nothing out.
No, that's a fact. That's a fact.
Hey, yo, speaking of Verzuz, like what have you thought about like all the Verzuz that's kind of happened, and what's your favorite? And I seen pretty much Jeezy kind of stepped up, saying, "Yo, T.I., what's up? We could get it on." Like, which ones would you like to see? And shit, you know what I mean? I'm gonna just get a little spicy. Like, yo, if someone from TDE had to go against anyone in the rap game, what you think would be a compelling, we won't even call it battle, showcase of musical catalog.
Yeah, my favorite verses would have probably been, and this is probably early. Yeah, this is early on, but T-Pain and Lil Jon, that was probably my favorite verses. I'm not gonna lie, like I love that one, just because I'm a huge T-Pain fan. But I'm not gonna lie, like Lil Jon surprised me. That's the biggest thing I like about the verses is that you don't really know what everybody's doing or what they've done until you get what I'm saying, sit down and see it. But for me, if I had to say the one that I would like the most, I'm not gonna lie, like SZA and Ari would be fire right now. Like that'd be super fire right now, like for real. But I would actually like to see a versus where two people played unreleased shit, I think that'd be tight. Can I cuss? I don't know if I can or
Of
not.
course.
Hey.
Okay, got it. Yeah. But yeah, if two people did like unreleased shit, I think that would be like super super tight. But of course, the bag isn't gonna like make sense for that because now you're just putting out music that hasn't even been put out yet. But yeah.
Right. Well, speaking of music, like, you know, it's been what, 2 years since There You Have It and Now New
Yeah.
Beginnings. Like, was that difficult in the sense of like just getting from 2018 to 2020 and not putting stuff out? And you just said you left from the studio, so
Yeah. Nah, it was definitely like a test of my patience and faith, just as far as like understanding the process. Like I'm newer here over at TDE, you know what I mean? So I'm not used to somebody taking my finished product and being like, nah, go back and do, and, you know what I mean, and regroup and make this better and clean up on this and sure. I'm not used to that, you know what I mean? So it's that part of it was definitely a process. But I ultimately I'm happy that I had to go through that because it made me a better artist. And on top of that, it gave me a new bar for music. Like my project wouldn't have been as good if I would have put it out the first time that I brought it to top versus when he had me come back and then say, oh no, go in there with Dot, sit in there with him, let him hear the records, see what he got to say. Okay, go back. You know what I mean? So that process in itself just made me a better artist. But it was definitely tough. As an artist, you think everything you do tight. So when you got to keep going back and restructuring, it's humbling and it also tests your patience.
So since
Hey,
this is
so
your
that
first full-length release with TDE, a lot of people are considering it your debut album, but it sounds
Yeah.
like that's not really how you're categorizing it. You're saying it's more of a project. How come?
Yeah, just because for me, I'm working on my debut album, which for me, I'm aiming for it to be like culture shifting. Like for me, this was more of like a good collection of songs. Also, my albums are more cohesive. They're more cohesive as far as like concept. Like it's going to feel like you're going on a journey. And this one was more of like I wanted to A, get the monkey off my back as far as first project, but B, I wanted to kind of celebrate and have fun. Like I worked my ass off to get signed to TDE, and I didn't want to go into this deep, dark, like, you know what I mean, conceptual project on the first one, where, you know what I mean, I'm telling this, you know, story, or just like as far as dark, as far as like super, super personal in my life. You know what I mean? I wanted to celebrate with the people that's been rocking with me since day one. So that's what it's more of. It's kind of like a playlist or a collection of songs, if you will.
I ain't gonna front, man. Y'all be getting us, man, because
I
you
know.
couldn't have told me there was just an album.
What's crazy, Wayno, what's crazy is I hate like artists that's that nigga, and now I'm like being that nigga. I've always said that. Like I hate artists that's like, I don't know if this is an album, a project, a mixtape, and now I'm for sure being that guy. So I can't even front. Like that's the hypocrite in me.
Hey, so like, you know, you explained the process. It feels like a quality control process, like, you know, with putting out music. Is that generally for like everyone? Because I've always wondered, like, you know, sometimes, you know, I'm the guy who I'm trying to see behind the curtain, and also sometimes I'm the speculating person too. So when I
Yeah.
see SZA tweet something, I'm like, what's going on there? Because sometimes it look like either she or, you know, I would imagine artists, you're anxious to put out your project. Is it usually the case that, you know, you kind of you bring it to whoever and they're like, hey, listen, all right, let's do this with it, or let's do something else with it? Or is it something where it's like you're kind of like waiting your turn? Because that's what I usually thought it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, nah, it's and it's a lot of things with TDE that's kind of like myths. It's definitely not wait your turn. Like people got to remember Top a hustler. Like he come from the streets. He's not gonna sit on essentially like the work or the product if he can get money back for it. You get what I'm saying? So when it's ready to go is when it's ready to go. It's more of just like you know, kind of like a check-in. It's like, you know, you give your project up, Top is gonna always tell you how he honestly feels about it. But even then, like if you tell Top, like, nah, this is what I want to do, I want to push the button on it, he'll let you push the button on it. And if it don't go well, then it's like next time around, it's like you're gonna listen to me. You get what I'm saying? So that's kind of like the trade-off. But I think that everybody kind of respects him and knowing, you know, he really like what's crazy is he really has a good ear. You know what I mean? Top has like one of the best ears for music that I've seen, especially from an exec. Execs usually kind of just they focus on the numbers in their business. He Top has a very, very good ear. So, you know, if we want to go, like if Dot wanted to drop tomorrow, he could drop tomorrow. You know what I
Really?
mean? But it's just everybody's always working, trying to tighten it up and trying to make it the best music as possible. And that's why I always tell people, if you go down TDE catalog, you can't find a bad project. Like you might find projects that you don't like as well as others, but you can't find a bad project all the way down the label.
Well, that's good because it's some songs I wanted to ask you about because it's like, you know, when you put out Phil Nigga earlier this year, and that was such a strong record for everything that was going on. It didn't make that the project. And then also I want to know about this song that Top went and let you drop. You know what I mean? He put up on Instagram that you had this crazy record where you was going to stir up some controversy. And he's like, nah. And for Top Dawg to say, man, we ain't going to do this, that must have been a hell of a record. So I wanted to know, like,
who was getting this?
Why did Phil Nigga make it?
Who was getting this? Nah, Top is just Top was real funny for posting that too. I don't know, this nigga's crazy, but it's just more about, you know, like I'm early on in my career, and my music is just really honest, and I feel like when your music is super honest, anytime there's honesty in the room, period, there's people that are going to appreciate it, and there's people that's going to rub the wrong way. You get what I'm saying? There's already been things that I've talked about in my music that's rubbed niggas the wrong way, and I think Top was just more of like, you know, we don't really need to go there yet from an honesty perspective. You get what I'm saying? And about the industry and different things like that. And I appreciate him for that because he's always, you know, looking out for me. If it was up to me, like I'd probably be getting canceled every day just because I'm just really honest. Like I believe in, like, if I'm a fan of you, I hold you accountable. You get what I'm saying? Like that's just, and I don't feel like it's a diss to hold you accountable, but the sensitive culture that we're kind of in now is like, anything you disagree with somebody on is a diss nowadays. Like that's just what it is. You know what I mean? And so, you know, he was just really just looking out for me for the most part.
So is that song on hold forever or just until the debut album comes around?
To be honest with you, I don't know. Like Windows Cry on the project wasn't supposed to come out. I wrote that for me. Like I wrote that so that I can get that off. And then Top just called me and was like, what was that record that you was talking shit about all of us on? Like he was like, yeah, you should put that on the project. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I never really know, you know what I mean? Because it's like, it might come a time for it. Same with Phil Nigga. Like I wrote Phil Nigga about 1.5 years ago, unfortunately. And, you know, we're still going through the same things. And so, you know, when Juneteenth was coming around, it just made sense to put it out. So I'm really not sure, you know what I mean? But if it does come out, it's one of those that you'll know it as soon as you hear it. You'll be like, yeah, that's what Top was talking about, for sure.
Hey, how do you navigate, like, really through, like, you know what I mean? Like, these days, it's like we're living in like this, like, pussified, like, you know, cancel culture. Like, you have to really walk on eggshells. Sometimes you have to retroactively, and like, even though times change and, you know, people have updated, like, even certain things that seem or could be acceptable, you kind of got to almost scrub every tweet. You gotta make sure you're pretty much the perfect person. But then for an artist and also as a person, you may sacrifice, just kind of being real. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, how do you navigate that and, you know, kind of have a little bit of authenticity where your audience, your fans looking at you, not like some type of puppet, but somebody who's actually that guy who's going to give them the real?
I'm not gonna lie, it's tough because it's like with everything that you talk about, you have to weigh out the options. As far as funny, me and JID talked about this on tour. Everything you talk about, you got to weigh out the options. Is this important enough to me for me to risk that? You get what I'm saying? Because it's like there's certain topics where it's like, well, I might feel this way about that, but I don't care enough about it to where it makes sense to go there. You get what I'm saying? And then there's other topics where you like, nah, like if I get canceled for this, I get canceled for this, but people need to hear it. And then there's some artists that they just stay completely out the way of that shit. Like, yo, I'm here to get my bag and that's it. I'm getting up out of here, and big ups to them. So they just stay out the way of everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, but for me, being so honest and being so straightforward is definitely something that's challenging because it's like, you know, you really, truly have to take into consideration what you want to talk about, what you want to say, and if it's even worth it to you on a personal level to speak up about it.
Go ahead. All right. Well, I want to know, like, I seen that, like, with that being said about the music, like, what's been like the most shocking thing with your fans or your new fans? I see you went up 1,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. So like, what's been the conversation, you know, amongst like the people? What are they coming to you with? Like, what you saying that, you know, you want to walk that fine line, but you still want to give them what you want to give them. What's the new conversation of reason for like the people that's just getting in tune with you?
Man, I think the new challenge with that is just being misunderstood. It's like that's one thing I've had to learn is like, now that I have this platform, I'm not used to being like this person where I say something that it ends up in headlines. I'm not used to that. And so I'm even learning like that I have to fully go into detail and explain things. It's funny, I just watched you guys and you had a segment on TDE going through a weird time. And even that was a misquote. Like I was talking to Hip Hop.
I was just about to ask you about that.
Yeah, so what I said was, we're going through a weird time, meaning COVID, Black Lives Matter.
Oh.
And then the headline was, the label's going through a weird,
wow.
you get what I'm saying? Like, and it's like, shit like that happens all the time. So, and then Thomas calling me like, nigga, we not going. I'm like, nigga, I know. Like, I don't know what. Like,
hold on. Cause I got the quote.
Because Akademiks had a whole conspiracy theory.
Hey,
he had a whole.
Especially when it's TDE, because they think everything you say is like a coded message, and I'm like, and
that's why we've been wondering. Because you're the most outspoken TDE rapper of all time. Like they say, it feels like
I know, and I need to change that.
You're the only person.
I keep getting in trouble for that.
Well, hold on. Well, it did say. Well, this is what I'm reading it from. It says Reason says TDE is going through a weird time and calls himself the glue, and that's why I had comments. I said, damn. Like, I mean, something must be going on over there if he necessarily has to be the glue holding everything together.
Nah, what I told them, and that's why I really like doing interviews where it's video, because it's like, if you're gonna quote me, then take my clip and quote me. You get what I'm saying? Like, but I said I was the glue. The question was, what NBA team is TDE like? And I said, we're like the Warriors because the stars are out. Not meaning they're hurt, meaning they're just out. They haven't dropped music. You know what I'm saying? And I'm the glue because I've still given y'all TDE music. I gave you Q. I gave you 2 Soul Verzuz. You know what I mean? I'm trying to give you music from the camp, so I'm the glue. But you know what I mean? It's taking us a while to drop because we're going through a weird time. Not the labels going through a weird time. We are going through a weird time. It is COVID. We were going to drop in July, but then the Black Lives Matter movement hit. That would have been disrespectful to drop then, so we held off. But it's like when you say certain things and you over on TDE, things turn into headlines. People run with it. They make up their own, you know what I mean, things, and then it becomes this big thing. You know what I mean? And so that's been the biggest challenge, is that it's like, if I'm gonna talk about something, I damn near got to talk about it fully in detail, or people are gonna take it and make it a complete headline.
I ain't gonna lie, that was definitely a better headline because you just explained it. It sounded boring. It just sounded boring. We wanted beef and drama. We wanted to hear like, yo, Kendrick, he's thinking about leaving. I'm keeping him here. Yo, listen, sis is upset. I'm making sure she's cool. We wanted to hear something. We thought it was like fire over there. Okay.
Yeah, like,
no, you thought it was.
Sometimes when SZA says certain things, like, I don't think it's all the way what people think it is. And that's what I mean. Is I think that we all struggle with that sometimes. We'll jump out the window and say some shit, and it's like, we think it's something that's really, really big. You get what I'm saying? Like, and it might not be that. You get what I'm saying? And the fans, and I understand that the fans, they're so hungry for music that if I tweet something like, yo, this nigga Top be taking forever, like, I might be literally talking about Top went to go get my food and he's taking forever. Like, niggas might take that.
Does he call you though? Like, does he call you like, bro, what are you doing? Log off.
Nah, for sure. That's what I'm saying. I got a call about y'all shit yesterday. I got a call about that. You know what I'm saying? And that's not y'all fault. It's not your fault at all. It's just, editors. It's really like the writers are cool. The writers will write an article, and then editors will feel like they need to make it better. Like, even that article from them, like, that wasn't the original title of that article, and then the editor was like, we need something that's going to
spice it up, clickbait it.
But you are very understanding. Artists are not usually that understanding when things go left like that. But so it's nice that we saw Q, Absol, Isaiah all on the album. So even though, things may be changing or influx behind the scenes, it seems like, do you guys all still have a pretty close relationship, just the artists?
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, we're good. Like, everybody's just working, and I feel like everybody is in a place where they haven't dropped in a minute. So everybody is kind of focused on making their next drop like the one. You know what I mean? Like, I just talked to Soul. I was just with Soul like 3 days ago, and we were talking about it was a couple of us actually, and we were talking about all working on music together. And even Soul said, he was like, I got to get this right first. You know what I mean? So I think everybody's kind of in that space where they like, I got to get this right. You know what I mean? Because my next one got to be what the fans have been waiting for, because we've been having them wait a little bit. You know what I mean? So I think that everybody's just kind of in that space. But like, we're good. Like, I feel like I even said this in that article, like, I feel like next year for us is gonna be insane. You know what I mean? Like we've been waiting long enough. I think that we'll be in a good spot next year.
I think that's the gift and the curse of being private though, because it's like,
1,000%.
when you guys are private and you're not putting up content every day, and then when it finally comes out, people consume it highly, but that makes people speculate everything. It's like everything at TDE is like they not together, they not good.
Exactly.
It's like Kendrick is like a unicorn now. You know what I mean? It's like we rarely see him, so a picture comes out of him and everybody's like, oh shit, he actually exists.
Exactly. No, 100%. And then even that, like how they ran with that, saying that Dot's leaving, and that was even crazy to me because Dot don't respond to nothing. So even the fact that he sent Top that video I thought was dope. And it's just a representation of the fact that like, like I think that it's kind of getting to everybody in its own way, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Everybody in its own way are feeling like, maybe I can just say this, that way we can put this to bed, or maybe I can say this to put that to bed. You know what I mean? So yeah.
I mean, when you first see those things like pop up, do you already know like, yo, this is some bull, or are you even be like, yo, what is this? Like, do you have to make a call, or are you already know this is bullshit?
Yeah, I'm gonna be real. Like, well, most times you get a call from Top. Top is tapped in. Like Top be saying shit before. Like Top saw that article Hip Hop DX put out before I even saw it. But it's really like it's really just crazy because it's like, okay, like so I use an example. Like the entire industry hated Tekashi for everything that happened, right?
Mhm.
Just as far as how he was moving and stuff like that. But for me to play devil's advocate, it's like, what makes y'all blogs any different than Tekashi if y'all just gonna do whatever you need to do for clickbait? That's essentially what Tekashi's doing. So it's like, how do you say, or these blogs, how do you talk down about somebody like Tekashi, but y'all are literally just grabbing headlines to try to run with them for the next clickbait? It's like, at what point do we focus on the culture and the authenticity? Like, if you say that you're for the culture, then at what point are we actually doing things for the culture? You get what I'm saying? And for me, it's like, I understand the business part of it. You got to do certain things to, get clickbait or get more attention. But to me, it got to be a balance with everything. Like, you also need to do some stuff for the culture. And if you're not doing nothing for the culture, it's like, at that point, you're a troll. And that's how I feel like a lot of these blogs are, is they just trolls. They looking for the next thing to keep them relevant for another 15 minutes of fame.
So wait, I always wanted this too. Like, sometimes to help these things, like some of these rumors that are salacious and kind of just wild and just definitely inaccurate from coming out. Do you feel like there could be a little bit more transparency? Because fans are speculating, and I think how even that like kind of starts spreading is like
Yeah.
people are looking for something to latch on to also explain why they haven't seen anything, right?
Yeah.
So anything that kind of supports that, they're gonna be like, oh, that's it. That clearly that's going on because we haven't heard anything. Do you think a little bit more transparency might
Well, I used to feel that way until I got here, and it's like I'm transparent, and now these niggas run with what I say. So it's like, whether we saying something or whether we not saying something, like, you running with it. You get what I'm saying? Like, so I used to feel that way, and that was one of the reasons why I was being so transparent, because I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm a diehard TV fan. I'm here now. I'm gonna let niggas know as much as I can. You get what I'm saying? Just because I'm a fan too. And now it's like, shit, they was taking stuff when we wasn't saying nothing, and now that I'm actually talking, they taking this shit and running with it. You know what I mean? So it's almost like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. But at the same time, I just try to focus on, as long as I'm good, with the label and with Top and whatnot, then we good money, because people they're gonna take it regardless. I can have a poster up in my background while I'm on live, and niggas gonna say I put that there on purpose to tell niggas that Dot is dropping on the 10th. Like, that's how crazy it is. You feel me?
Has that been the hardest part of dealing with this industry for you, right? Because before you were playing ball, then you made this transition to rap. Like, what have
Yeah.
been the challenges for you as a new artist?
That's definitely been one of them. It's just finding the real in like this fake ass industry. Like, you just don't know, what's real and what's not. You know what I mean? You don't know what people are doing for attention or gimmicks, or if people are actually, you know what I mean, if they do fuck with you, if they just fucking with you for the moment. Blogs, it's like you might meet a couple of people at an editorial spot or whatever, and you think y'all cool. I've even gone out, had drinks with niggas, and then a headline come out, you like, yo, my nigga, like, this is crazy. So for me, that's definitely been one of the challenges. But I think the biggest challenge has just been realizing that, like, your life isn't completely yours anymore. You get what I'm saying? Like, you belong to the industry and the fans that pay your bills, essentially. You know what I mean? And so having to balance that and knowing what part of you to keep sacred to yourself and what part of you not to, that's probably definitely been the biggest challenge for me, though.
I mean, with that being said, like, does that make you more want to focus on just putting everything how you feel into the music? Because like one of my favorite records is Fall, right? Like, I love Fall, and I see you got a lot of backlash about that just because you were being honest. You know what I mean? So does it make you reluctant to just, I ain't going for drinks, I ain't chilling with none of y'all, I'm gonna just do this music and y'all could just take it how y'all want?
At times, you know what I mean, because it's a human emotion at the end of the day. Speaking on Fall specifically, it goes back to kind of what I said before, where it's like, if I'm gonna get canceled or quote unquote attacked, it's really just about determining if that's important enough to you. You know what I mean? And as far as Fall goes, it's like, I knew I would probably receive some flack back for the Mac Miller line, but I felt like it was so important to me. It was so important to me to get this across that, like, you know, like this industry and these niggas, they don't care about the artist. Like, it's all good until a nigga dies. And that's what the point I was trying to get across is that, you know, everything is cool. You know what I mean? We love your music about depression. We love your music about suicide. We love your music about, you know, drugs or whatever the case may be. We love seeing you around these niggas you just met and you don't really have no real love in your life. We love seeing all that until something happens. And even fans' reactions to me was a prime example of y'all are just fans. Like, y'all don't care about this person as a person. Because if you mad at me for saying a nigga name like that because you're a big fan of him, it's like, why you not mad at niggas that didn't say his name when he was alive? Like, if somebody would have said it when he was alive, you get what I'm saying? There's a chance that he could still be alive. So for me, it's like, I knew I would probably get some flag back for it, but it's like, it was important for me. Like, I have artists as friends that, you know, struggle with different things in this industry. So let this song be a representation of, you know, where I don't want nobody to end up, regardless of what the industry is.
Do you think cancel culture is even real? Obviously, the internet is the outrage machine, but people are outraged about something else different every day, every week. Do you think it actually has any lasting effects on an artist?
Honestly, I don't think so. It feels like it though. Like, as a person that people tried to get up out of here before, it definitely, when you're in the hot seat, it feels like it's real as hell. I can't even lie, but I don't think it's necessarily real. Like you said, everything is here today, gone tomorrow. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, people can bounce back. All you got to do is just kind of, you know, keep working, stay out the way long enough, stay out the hot seat long enough, and you'll be fine. So yeah, no, I don't think it's completely real.
Yeah, it's like the media cycle. I mean, you just gotta wait till somebody else is kind of getting fried, you know?
Exactly. You feel me?
And also, I think cancel culture became a little bit different when you realize that when they try to cancel you, there's like zero path to redemption. So like, you're gonna realize everybody at some point is gonna get canceled for something, and when everybody's canceled, what the fuck do you do?
Exactly. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's like they're just looking for the. I look at it like when you was at school and a nigga start talking about a nigga's shoes. Like, you feel like it's the end of the world because you had on fake Jordans. But like, in 2 days, it's gonna be a nigga that got on a fake polo shirt and they're gonna be talking about him. You get what I'm saying? But you feel like at the moment, like, you go home, you throw the J's in the trash. Like, hey, I'm over this. You feel me? But it's not that big of a deal. Like, people move on every day.
So here's an example. People are really, really mad at Ice Cube right now. I don't know have you been paying attention to this story about him trying to push through this plan for Black people? Okay, so I mean, the latest development is one of Trump's ridiculous sons posting that Photoshop photo of Cube and 50 Cent wearing like Trump hats, and Cube respond. What do you think about this? Like, his big initiative. His big point is that he's trying to be bipartisan and just do things for Black people. A lot of people are just definitely not feeling it.
Yeah, I think it's a prime example of the fact of headlines. I think the most of the people that's not feeling it are people that haven't necessarily done the research to understand what Ice Cube is saying. And I'm not saying I agree or disagree because I don't know enough about the initiative that Ice Cube was trying to put into place. But I do know that we did the same thing to Hov when he sat next to the NFL owner, and we were all mad at the NFL, and then you saw Hov sitting next to him, and then they had that one clip that went viral, and it's like, y'all didn't even take a chance to look at the whole 45-minute segment where Hov was talking about everything that he's trying to do. I just think it's a situation where, you know, there's some people, I think Ice Cube was trying to make a change. I think he's like, you know, whether Trump wins or not, we got to do something. So I might as well, you know, try to cover us on this end. If he does win, let me try to cover us on this end and do something for Black people. That's kind of how I interpreted it. So until I see something that he's selling us out in some way that they're trying to depict it, I'm not going to put that hat on them. You know what I mean? But the internet is quick to do that. We did the same thing with Hov, and it's like, if niggas try to cancel Hov, like, who's safe at that point? Like, that's crazy to me. Yeah.
Akademiks was one of them.
Well, you was canceling Hov, Akademiks?
No, I say cancel him. I was just saying, man, the NFL, they be on some shit, man.
Like, I'm gonna be real with you, Ak. This is like a thing. Like, so before I signed the TDE, I had a thing with you where I was like, man, this nigga Ak is one of these troll niggas. You know what I'm saying? Like, but
you thought so?
Yeah, I really did. But now that I'm like into this shit a little bit more, I don't think that you a troll. I think you believe all of the stuff that you believe, which that you speak on. Yeah, which I can respect. The thing that I disagree with you on is it's another thing that I talked about that balance. I feel like sometimes you don't have the balance of like the stuff that you believe on and then the stuff that you're trying to learn, if that makes sense. You get what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
I can see that. No. It makes 100% sense. And honestly, I think that's usually, throughout my time, kind of in this game is like you try to keep that balance. But a lot of times, sometimes the bullshit kind of gets to the 90% and the other shit becomes a 10. And, you try to level it out over time. But, again, I'm not saying I'm perfect. So
and that's one thing I fuck with you on is that you never claim to be perfect. You know what I mean? This is just more of that thing that I told you before. People that I watch and I feel like, okay, that's dope. They have a platform or whatnot. I'm gonna always ask questions to hold accountability. You know what I mean? And I hope that people do the same. I feel like there's times where like you have a huge platform. I feel like there's times where, it would benefit to try to balance it out a little bit more. You get what I'm saying? To try to have that perspective on it. Just to be able to expand, you get what I'm saying? Because you are an important figure in this game, whether niggas want to admit it or not.
Hey, and here's the thing too, right? Because usually, like, your perspective is shared by many, right?
Yep.
You see how you just said it, and that was super respectful. You're obviously making a point. Usually niggas don't come back to that.
Usually they're just like, Wayno, give me his address.
Hold on.
Yeah.
The way they start is usually, okay, so now now you're trying to give me a digital wedgie. So now I gotta try to defend myself.
Now I gotta go the hard way. I gotta go hard left. You went hard right.
Which honestly, like, like this type of dialogue and this type of discourse, just the same way how even you presented it and trying to find that balance is what needs to happen on really a major level, not only for me, but for all outlets and all players in the game, 1,000%. Where we could really get to a point where everything's being like showcased on a really respectable but balanced level, from social issues, from balancing the sounds of music, balancing some of the the things that's being really shown on like these mainstream levels in terms of some of the we might call bullshit and some of the shit that's the woke shit, you know what I mean? And also in between, you know what I mean? It's like a mixed bag. So I think this conversation that you just even started, that's what needs to happen more. And yeah, being held accountable. I've always kind of, I'm down with it. It's just how you do it. You know what I mean? Come on, like, yo, you bitch ass nigga, you're banned from the churches. Fuck you. I hate you. I'm gonna slap you when I see you. I'm giving you a wedgie. I can't wait to just run down. It's like, whoa. Have a dialogue after that.
Nah, that's real. That's real. Niggas, you know what I mean? People get upset, and I get it. It's like, they life is in it, but like you kind of like what you said is that, everybody's life is in it. Like your life is in it, you know what I mean? Wayno's and Nadeska's, all of y'all, you know what I mean? We all have our own personal life that we got to balance with this shit. But yeah, that's my big thing is I just feel like it's dope to have the honest conversations, you know what I mean? As long as it's like respect is met with respect, you know what I mean? I feel like we can talk about anything.
Yeah.
And Reason, thank you so much for pulling up on the show. Come back anytime. You don't have to talk about music. We just come debate whatever you want to talk about. You're, I think, the best guest we've had in a long time. Guys, go check out his project, New Beginnings, that is streaming right now. Thank you, Reason. We'll see you guys here Monday on Everyday Struggle.